We are recording on Friday, February 28th, 2025 at 12:34 p.m. Eastern Time with Dr. Mark Sherwood, who's been on here a couple times before. It's been a minute, and I was just telling him because I slept through all my alarms yesterday, and which never happens. I looked up last night, and I guess there is a bug going on right now
Hmm.
with the iPhone, which I feel like you'd. I just not to immediately go into a tirade, but I just finished a book by Walter Isaacson about Steve Jobs. Man, he was an asshole per Isaacson's words, per Jobs' words. He would have never let this fly. He iron fist. The trains are on time, and I'm listening to the book, and he just the smallest little things he would fire people over, and I'm like, well, maybe he's a little over the top. And now that I missed an alarm, I'm like, yeah, you know what? As like a Apple user, and okay, now an alarm's going off that I don't have set, so you know, yeah, and luckily it's my podcast, and luckily you're a cool dude, and I can just contact you and be like, hey, but that, what if that was an hour late to a new job? So not that's really not related to anything. Perhaps it's just an excuse for myself. But Dr. Sherwood, could you introduce yourself for everyone that doesn't know you? Because you have a wild resume.
Yeah, Mark Sherwood. I'm now a naturopathic doctor. My wife, Dr. Michelle, and I run the Functional Medical Institute in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Um, I guess people need to know that we've written several books. I think it's at four right now that were bestsellers. We made now six full-length movies as producers. And I've been able to actually seven. I've been able to act in and star in probably five of those and support in one. And then prior to that, I was a police officer and did that for 24 years, 10 years on the SWAT team, and worn a lot of hats in my days. There's more, but our mission right now is really focused squarely on the longevity process, reduction and modification of the biological aging systems of our body, just learning how to age and live better.
I think that's maybe the cool. I mean, and you're pretty similar to my buddy Dale, who I had on the other day. Dale's in his 60s, youngest ever member of Delta Force at like
Mhm.
20. Average age is like 35. He was 23 when he was in it. See, he did nuclear like power plant security, trains K9s. He just opened a bar in Bali. He kind of like jack of all trades.
Yep.
And he actually, I just had him on Monday. He's now talking about he's got like a recent obsession with longevity. So I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe that is where it accumulates because it's okay. One, you could, low hanging fruit. You could say, yeah, you get older, so you get more interested in it. But I would look at it more as like it's like the shockwave on the front of biology. There's
Yeah.
obviously healthcare, there's surgery, that all that stuff's always changing. But I think because that's something I read about. I'm 34 now. I
Mhm.
was reading about in high school when I was 16, 17, 18, Ray Kurzweil, Terry Grossman about longevity, like the bridges of longevity. I mean, it's
Yeah.
alpha lipoic acid, acetylcarnitine, resveratrol. Like these are all things when other people were going to the prom, like that's what I was reading about. And like, because to me, it is above all else, to me, it's a very attractive puzzle. I mean, what is older than, the fountain of youth? And
Well, whether you're young or old, whatever the case may be,
yeah.
you should be able to be aging well. Life is gonna have a beginning, it's gonna have an end. But in between that beginning and end, I look at like maybe like a car.
Yeah.
If you buy a car, whatever year you bought the car, that car has a generally expected lifespan with its mechanisms, its different engine features, different segments of that motor, electronics, etc. And if we care for that car well, it becomes a classic car, and people make the comment on it, wow, that thing is still running well. Wow, that thing still has great value. And we call these collector's items, and they actually increase in value. And so, my thought process on this, Tommy, is why can't we view life like that? Why does life have to become a negative in the latter half of the life, or even a negative in the front half of life? Why does it have to do that? And so we've been at this a lot of years right now, and over the course of time, as I don't even want to say science has developed, but it's actually thinkers have developed because science, if you look at the conventional medical system, within the country of the United States. It's so locked in and rigid to a pharmaceutical model. It's like it's not changing, and it's actually beginning to show its effects on people. It's actually shown that over the course of time, our expectation in America is that a male will live to 80 and a female may live to 80, and that's all you got. But if you look back at the lifespan potential of humans, you're going to see history tells you a different story. The organ systems, I assert, are going to live probably 120 years if given the right care, the right material, etc. So it's a thinking that needs to turn around, and people don't need to be clinicians or trained medical personnel to get this anymore because information, courtesy of the World Wide Web, as we know it is free and it's good, and we should be studying out there how we can do life better.
There's kind of a fascinating phenomena with that, but I wanted to go back. I think that's something that it took me for a while, and I never. I mean, I really was obsessed with it for a while in high school and college, and now it's kind of. I feel like it's more at cruising altitude now. It's like I've since I was 17, resveratrol, phosphatidylserine, the grapeseed. Yeah, this stuff is good for your alpha GPC,
Yeah,
acetylcholine. I've taken like and again with like the money a 17-year-old has. Like I've kept it. I've taken supplements, 8 hours of sleep, daily meditation. I read. I keep myself cognitively learning, exercise. Don't drink, don't smoke. Other than that, though, it's like you do it, but it's like an investment. You put the money in, and it's like, all right, now you just have to leave it there for a while. So
right.
I look at it so I guess I'm not as into it. I think if I had, a couple $1 billion, I'd probably start looking into like, stem cells or something. But it's not just that you're pushing the number back to
Yeah,
go, well, because then what is I want to live to 99. Well, it's like, well, what is 99? It's alone, my mind, like, I don't know if I want that versus when you look at people in their 60s, 70s, 80s still like living, you go, oh, that's the real. It's not some weird, you know, Olympic medal time. Like I lived 126 years, 4 months, three, and it's like, no, no, no. It's being able to still live and
that's right.
just, I mean, basic things like not needing a walker or something.
Well, yeah, man, it's like being able to do what you want, when you want, how you want, and not hurt.
Yeah,
And it's kind of as a basic way I've been able to share it. And in life, really, we tend to categorize it according to the watch, the chronology, the date of birth, the calendar time. But really, that's not how we age at all. We age in a whole different way. It's a cellular aging process, and we're able now because of the discussions people have had, the newly found discoveries that we have access to. We're now able to see the ability to, I don't even like to say reverse, but we're able to really modify the aging processes through therapies like bioregulators, like peptides, like stem cells, like hormones, like various nutraceuticals that you mentioned a few. We can modify it to the point now where we can actually see the organs beginning to age correctly. I think it's aging correctly, but some people would say it's aging slower. I would assert it's aging correctly. And so it's kind of cool because now there's enough testing out there that you can actually test a quantification or an amount of how you're aging. So you not only can adjust it, you can test it, and you have a little way to measure it. So it's pretty fascinating right now, and it's a good time because people now are starting to think more for their own. And I think that's great because we need to question what we think is science, Tommy. I've said this before. One of the worst things that mankind went through was the phenomena, the brainwashing of, quote, trust the science, end quote. Because when you trust the science, you're trusting in this obscure concept that this is it. This is the ultimate truth. But that doesn't even fit the definition of science
no.
because science is really what is left over as a residue when you poked holes in what you think you know. So science is really a bunch of people questioning why that's not true and defending why it is, and let the chips fall where they may. And what you have left over is what you think you know. And it's always changing. So I think as we always begin to question and change things, we tend to get better, and that's the development and evolution of mankind.
Science is the thing that's left over after you've taken a blowtorch to it. Like,
Totally. Yep.
right? It's like if there's like a metal core inside of, I don't know, a gingerbread house. Take a flamethrower
Yep.
to it. It's
That's right.
gonna
That's right.
it's gonna burn at different levels, the candy cane versus the icing. Eventually you're gonna hit some tungsten core. You're gonna go, there it is. That's the thing. I don't know
That's it.
why it's here.
Exactly.
We can go into subatomic physics if you want, but for the most part, can we all agree that things here? Yeah. And by the way, hey, you can try it at your house and it's reproducible. And also, if you come out and say that's BS, that tungsten core is nothing, I'm not gonna censor you because truth doesn't mind being questioned. I don't care. That's science. Go for it.
Right.
And if you do poke a hole in it, cool. All right. Maybe I was wrong.
Exactly.
Maybe there's a hotter blowtorch. I don't know. Um, but back to what you're saying about the thinking is differently. It's interesting because there's the difference in scientific progression. Let's say material science. That's I don't an alloy that you put at the front of a plane so it can go faster. That's different. That's like hard. You need the
Mhm.
science. There is something we can now push this plane faster. But there is a different I don't know stepping stone, and it is the thinking process of, well, can we go through the speed of sound? And I don't know what was it, I don't know, was it who was it Pre that ran the 4 minute mile? Was that is
That was Bannister.
okay, Roger Spanish
Bannister.
there. Pre
Roger
maybe was,
Bannister, I
yeah,
believe.
maybe Pre was I don't know. But there's a thing around the idea of like it wasn't just that it wasn't possible. It's not like he was the tallest, lankiest,
Mhm.
best muscle fibers, genetic. It's not like 1,000 years of cultivating Usain Bolt. That was more of a thinking process of it can't be done, and then it happened. And then, if I'm not incorrect, wasn't there a phenomena of a ton of people started breaking it after
That's
that?
right. It sort of
Okay,
broke through this thing that
yeah.
we couldn't do, and all of a sudden now everybody's minds open up to the wonderful thing called possibility.
So that's what gets me. And on the simplest, you could say it's motivation. We
Mhm.
go, it can be done. I can do
Yeah.
it. You can, Tom, you can go to 10 Super Bowls. Okay. But then there's also and I don't know if it gets into like quantum physics or consciousness or the fabric of reality itself, but that does start to get into the idea of like, well, do we, when it gets down to the weird, fuzzy Planck space double slit experiment, what is the sense of I, the Bhagavad Gita? Once you get down to that, you start going, is it that we are actually believe? Because it's not nothing to say no one broke a 4 minute mile and then it's not like these were lazy guys. It's not like it's me who's like, yeah, I just hate cardio. These were world
Right.
class runners
Right.
who were like, it can't be done. And then they all started doing it. That starts getting into, and back to what you're saying about longevity, that starts getting into like, are we creating reality? Is there some weird thing where everyone's minds are projecting and the majority projection rules over? And once we believe it can happen, and maybe once we stop saying nobody lives over 100 until somebody is like at 110 and you see them and they're not in a nursing home and they're like
Yeah.
playing tennis, and then we sort of break open that reality. Do you think it's just, and it might be both, is it just the possibility of realization of inspiration to go, he did it, white guy ran 4 miles, I can do it? Or is it much deeper with much wilder implications of, yeah, we live in this weird holographic universe where we're projecting reality? I mean, one of them is maybe an Occam's razor. I don't know.
I think it's probably both.
Yeah.
And I'll explain my answer with that. The first part of that is when you're around people that talk of, speak of, live about possibilities, sort of that builds confidence, and that confidence can become a reality. We know that. That's just kind of the art of encouragement, the art of belief systems, right? But I think also from a real sciency position, I think there's also a lot to it because I know that there is an epigenetic effect on many things that we do affects the genes. And so the genes are always interacting with an environment. So this epigenetic conversation is happening all the time. And of course, that prompts the genes, Tommy, to express themselves, to create proteins to deal with and handle and adjust to what we are dealing with environmentally. Now, environmentally is not just what's happening in our body. It's what's happening outside our body. It's what's happening in the environment. It's what we breathe, what we eat, what we do, what we're exposed to, and even what we speak. There's a bunch of cool science out there that indicates even if we speak something, such as people could adjust to this easy and they can understand it. If you say, I'm so fat, I'm so addicted to carbohydrates, I can never lose weight, I can never put on muscle. Well, those things do become a reality in your life, not just because you believe them and not because they become your predominant habitual phraseology and belief, but because also they change the structure of your
Mm.
genetic expression. And so, on the other hand, we can say, man, there's no reason that I can't live optimally up to the day I'm supposed to change addresses. There's no reason I can't live optimally every day. There's no reason I can't continue to stay in tip-top shape. Who tells me that I can't go climb a mountain when I'm 100? Why not? And so
Yeah.
living like that with the possibility translated into what we speak does affect our genes.
And that is, yeah, I had another Dr. Elizabeth Rogers, I think. I believe she's an epidemiologist from Harvard or Hopkins. But she talks about that. Actually, Dale, the Delta Force guy, talks about that. And when I always bring up Dale saying that, because I'm like, this isn't stuff you hear from like a white chick with dreadlocks at a music festival. I'm like,
No,
I'm like, I don't think Dale's ever smoked pot in his life. They don't, you don't get a Delta Force if you have delusions. They
no,
weed
you got
that
to stay
out.
focused, man, on that stuff.
They weed that out, and Dale said like not only is that a lot, like they actually cultivate that to
Yeah,
like see possibility. So when you're downrange, everything's gone wrong, the chopper's not coming in, and you're being closed in on, and you don't have enough ammunition for every person you see. Well, do you want to kill yourself or do you want to go, we have to see a possibility and even if it's just the hope to keep going, he
yep.
said that there's a physiological effect of if you truly think it's over, it's the Alamo, it's Black Hawk Down, then it's over. Versus if you go, we're going to find, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to find a way, then you find a way. And if that's being cultivated into Delta, that's not woo woo. So I truly believe it. And I have to catch myself too. Where I'm like, oh, I'm a fat pig, and I'm like, no. There's nothing wrong with saying like, yeah, you know what? I love my mom's cooking, and I will enjoy Thanksgiving, and I don't care how many pounds I put on. This is beautiful, but I have to catch myself, and I'm getting better at it. At even just joking around and being like, I'm stupid or my shitty podcast. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with humility and like self-deprecating humor, but I do more so maybe in private. I'm like, I don't say that to I'm like, don't talk to yourself like that. Don't say that to, because one, bad habit, but two, I'm like, it's like we look back at people before germ theory and we go, don't use that scalpel on two people. What are you doing? No, 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 no. We're like, we don't know why all the babies are dying. It's like, stop. You're putting a scalpel in pus and then hitting it. Don't
Hmm.
do that. We have no idea what confirmed science in 200 years. We're
No,
looking back and they're like, don't say that your show sucks because then it's gonna suck. If you
that's
say
right.
your show's good, it's actually gonna be good. Like tell yourself you love yourself. Tell yourself that like, you're a good person and like you will enjoy life more. And it might be as like don't do that as a doctor wiping a blade off on their shirt and then carving into the next person.
It might be, and I think that we all should understand right now that even the discussions we have, the podcasts we listen to, who we hang out with, what we fill our minds with, what we read, what we try, what we believe, we're really forming the future. And I don't
Yeah.
mean that in a real weird way, but we're forming the future because we now are going to become the experiments of what was tried 100 years from now. And so we'll look back, people look back on this time and they'll see, the birth of AI. They'll see that. They'll see the birth of epigenetics. They'll see the generation of people that tried peptides and tried bioregulators to begin to think like this, and all the podcasts and social media, how that's really overtaken mainstream media and influencers. What does that mean? I mean, so all this is happening right now, sort of at the speed of light and beyond. And so I'll be amazed at even what it is the next 10 years,
Mm.
what we think we know and what we can achieve or what we can learn. And so I think we become perpetual students of ourselves, our lives, what we know, and we got to practice what we would call best practices right now. And I think this is what we know right now. So I think this is a good way to go.
And it also makes sense that it would be difficult, right? It's every reboot of a movie in Hollywood. You go, yeah, it's safe. You're redoing Hercules. You're redoing Snow White. You're redoing, whatever. Oh,
Right.
it's another World War II movie. It's safe. There's an audience. You know how to do it. You know how to shoot it. You go, what are the best ones? You go, all right, Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers. Frame it in the same way, do the same lighting, blah blah blah. It's safe, and that's fine if that's just cranking out slop because it's a whatever fiduciary responsibility. Fine, but if you want to go become a legend, some Stanley Kubrick or whoever, I'm not a film buff. If you want to go make something that is just, if you want to make something that in the future will be copied because that is safe, you got to do some wild stuff.
You
And
do.
it's and that's why it's scary and that's why it's not easy. Like you have to push through, and that also means a lot of failure, a lot of humility, a lot of eating a big slice of humble pie and going, I thought that was going to really help, and it turns out that was actually, whatever, incinerating my pituitary gland. Hey, egg on my face. Like that, it makes sense that it's difficult.
Yeah. I mean, all in my life, I've tried a lot of things um, that may not have been a good idea, but I thought it was at the time.
Yeah.
And then you learn from them and go, that was not good. I didn't turn out nice at all.
No.
But at the same time, if you don't try, and if you're urged to try, why not you?
Yeah.
Why can't you do that?
Yeah.
And so I've always been one to kind of be a, prospective trailblazer in some areas. And hey, somebody's got to do it. It might as well be you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then if you have to ask yourself, well, then, why did that guy? Why is he so special? The dude
Hmm.
that invented this, the dude that's sponsored by that, how did Tiger Woods become a super? How did he make golf cool? Like stuff like that. We're like, I don't get it. How did he? Well, it's because there's a lot of risks that you didn't see, and then one of them just, and you go, oh my God, he did that, and well, it's because he had the balls to go out and do it.
That's right. He was confident. He didn't. You have to have that special something, whatever that is. I mean, I look at all the great athletes that have achieved a lot. I look at some of the film people that have achieved a lot. One thing they have in common is that they were different. They did things different. They set a new standard. And I think we go by there and go check, check, check. In every area, it was a new standard. Somebody's got to break through the normal barriers. Somebody's got to be the Roger Bannister. Somebody's got to believe that you can do something better. And that helps mankind. I don't know that everybody does that. And I don't know that everybody's called to do that. I don't know that everybody's not called to do that. But I do know that we have it in us because I've seen it, many people, and I've had to work to pull it out of myself many times. So we have it in us. It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially with this, I always look back a year, and the podcast is a little over 5 years old. I always look back a year and I go, man, I cannot believe how much it's changed for the better.
Hmm.
And every year I think that, and I go, man, then my default follow-up thought is, yeah, but I don't know if I can keep improving it. I mean, I think it's probably at its most evolved form. And then I go, a year ago, I truly couldn't, when I first started it, I still living at home and doing it above my parents' garage on a laptop. And then it was, the year later, I was in my own apartment and, with a better laptop. And then I can't, and then every year I go, it somehow got better because
Hmm.
I would look at it and go, it can get better. How would it be better? And I always think of a bunch of stuff, and most of it doesn't work. I'm like, what would it be like? I don't know. Even just something simple like I don't know, more sunlight in the studio.
Hmm.
What effect would that have? And how would that open up? And maybe it's produced better. And then okay, well if that's 12 months from now, what little nudges can I start moving in that direction? Like, I don't know. Maybe I should Start looking up how to make thumbnails. What makes a thumbnail attractive? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should start. How do you get sponsored? Well, it's probably like dating. You got to put yourself out there. It's a lot of, have we sponsored my show? Absolutely not.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Next. Like,
Yeah.
all right. And then, so when people ask me, how do you start a podcast? And I go, it's just years of trial and error. And then you get to where I am and you go, oh, so even now, I'm like, I love my apartment. I love everything about it. And I'm like, how would it look better? What would I want? What have enough money to do this or to get a dog or to like now I moved to a new apartment and I have a second room. My parents can come stay with me. Instead of they used to come visit and they'd get a hotel. Now they come stay with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's so much. It's so awesome to be able to like give my parents their own. They come and hang out, and instead of meeting up down, downstairs, they wake up here. They're drinking coffee when I wake, and I'm like, it like fills my heart, and I'm so happy
Yeah.
for it. I go, okay, well, what would it look like another year from? Like, what do I want? What do I feel? So it's difficult, and of course it's difficult because if it wasn't, you would do it already.
Well, the only way, I mean, I looked at this from a lot of different angles, man. I mean, how do you achieve something great? Well, you have to walk through this idea of unbelief, number one. Number two, you got to crush down and walk through the enemy called fear.
Hmm.
That's hard, you know. And number three, you got to develop this resilience inside of your life that if you do have something that tries to get in your way, you have to have the resiliency to fight through that. And if you get knocked down, you have to have the resiliency to get back up again. So it's a lot of things like that, you know. And so all of those got to be factored in. And when you think about it, there's only a few people that will do that. I appreciate even what you said about the Delta Force gentleman, that the cultivation of a culture. We have seen in America the cultivation of an average culture. I think we've seen that. You know, people's health are very average. We're in the worst positions of our place in health in America we've ever been in history. We've seen performance in school go down. We've seen student performance go down. The ability to speak and write and communicate has gone down. And something's got to change, man. And so somebody's got to believe to lead the way and sort of reestablish a culture of excellence and greatness again.
I just made a note. I'm gonna put you in touch with Dale. He'd probably love to talk to you. Um,
Yeah.
but kind of more in the second half of the show is to pivot. What all have you been doing, or what have you been learning about? So we've been talking about just the very, the concept of believing it's possible, moving it forward, bio longevity, living longer lives, living better lives into later years. What what have you seen or done, or do you what themes and patterns are you forecasting? Do you see like more and more people do stems, and it used to be in the realm of like, I think Steve Jobs did it when he had cancer, but it cost him so much, but he was able to do it because he's Steve Jobs. It's moving from the realm of the billionaire who's, he can fly to
Yeah.
Kyoto to go get this thing versus like, yeah, no, you can probably do it in like a major US city, it costs this much, and in 20 more years it'll just be a thing you go do. Like, yeah, no, you just go get it fixed. What have you seen, or what patterns do you see unfolding, or do you predict to unfold?
I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that is going to happen at such a rapid speed. For example, just go right through this. I think stem cells is already a well understood, or fairly well understood science and application of science. I think that's going to do nothing but continue to speed where even persons probably can go to your local wellness doctor, not mainstream. I'll talk about that in a minute, what I see there. And but in the wellness side of things, or the aging and longevity side of things, I think those are going to become more available in various forms, even topical forms, very, very soon. Put them on your hair to thicken the hair. I put them on your face to redo face. I think these things are going to be happening super fast, probably the next 5 years, making it more available. I see people using more peptides today. I'm talking about the synthetic peptides, mainly the injectable subcutaneous type. Those are out there everywhere right now. You know, the BPC 157s, the GHK coppers, the TB4, the TB 500, all these ones, Sermorelin, Tesamorelin, CJC, they're out there and people are starting to use those more. I think they're going to be mainstream. And I think that people are going to be using the peptide bioregulators that actually are glandular products. I think that's going to happen as well. I think you're going to see testing that we can do right now be able to show aging processes. For example, someone in their 60s, like I am, they're going to have an immune system function in their 20s because I've seen that as a reality in our patient population, our client population. And I think these things are going to happen. I think they're all going to be possible. You're going to see people being in their 80s, 90s, um, skiing at the lake, playing tennis. I think you're going to see people in the gym. I think there's a bodybuilder. I think her name is Ernestine out there. I think you're going to see more of those people like that show up that are just seeming to be freaks of nature, but actually they're returning to what is normal.
Hmm.
And so I think that's going to happen very, very fast. And I think people are going to be, perhaps you're going to see people crash through that 120 at some point. The oldest living known person, I believe, was 122. And I think it was a lady in the UK. Recall her name, maybe Jean Calmette, I believe was her name. The oldest living person now, currently alive, is about 118 living in Japan. So I think you're going to see more people that are these centenarians per capita. I don't think it's going to be the main population. I think it's going to be a subgroup. And I think you're going to see a gap, a chasm between those type of thinkers, those type of people, that type of care, and mainstream medicine. Mainstream medicine is going to hang on because you're still going to have a bunch of people that are going to just do pill for an ill. They're
Mhm.
lazy. They just won't do anything. But this is where I see that going. I think the doctors are going to be replaced for the most part with primary care with artificial intelligence. I see a person going into a place and sitting in a nice recliner chair like you got right there that's being prompted with AI cues, recognizing you by retinal scan, by fingerprint. Strap yourself in, blood draw on the prick of a finger, analysis in just a few seconds, and probably your card on file, charged right then without you even knowing anything. Because I think those will probably implants at some point. And I think you'll have your medication spit out right there like a gumball machine and just going about your business. I think they'll be ran by people that might have some medical knowledge, but you're talking about just algorithmic sort of decisions based upon the biomarkers and symptoms you see and present with. So I think that stuff will be replaced with artificial intelligence. The only thing we're seeing right now more robotic surgery than ever before, more computer-driven surgeries than ever before. So I think we're going to see more of that, and that's the two directions I see it going.
Yeah, no, it is interesting, even again, just in like the, I guess, 20 years I've been reading about it. It was like the concept of stem cells and pluripotent stem.
Yeah,
I remember reading it and being like, and I was yeah in high school, but it was like the Bush administration. I was like, oh, they're never gonna allow. Like that's how long ago it was, and
yeah.
seeing that slowly become just a thing that's happening, and then it's like as that starts to become accepted. Yeah, I didn't know anything about the peptides, but that makes sense. And what do you see then? So it's like 20 years ago, stem cells were on the horizon. They're the shimmering thing. They've arrived. They're here. They're doing it. Right now, peptides are the new kind of like startup, if you will. What do you see as the next shimmering thing? Does it jump from bio to like nanotechnology? I know that's a theory of just they're in your body they're just constantly repairing, or synthetic organs, or it's not transplants. You grow something's grown or constantly rejuvenating. I mean, where do you see what are we looking at in 20 if you can look into a crystal ball, 2020, 2045?
I don't know how it's going to be done, but I see nanotechnology delivering real-time feedback data, real-time adjustments within intracellular processes, even organ-specific processes, to keep the organs repairing themselves, real-time detection of disease processes. I see that as well. I think eventually you'll have people growing spare parts for themselves, brains, hearts, your own unique DNA will cultivate those because we have that technology right now, and I think that's going to be something of the future. Is that scary? Maybe in some respects. Is it wild in some respects? Does it deliver possibilities in some respects? Yes, yes, yes. Because what are you going to do with it? I see as well with artificial intelligence, um, more of the conversations about these things we're having, not with people, but with the data set called AI. I see that happening as well, more probably twisted relationships with computer languages and artificial intelligence personalities than I do with people. I think we're going to see a shift that way. And I think that there's in all that, there's probably some good possibilities. And I think in all that, there's probably some real sinister or evil or negative possibilities, like in everything. Um, and I think with the idea of healthcare, it's going to become sort of an all-inclusive thing. And I see, and I don't really like this, but I see more push towards universal basic income. I see
Hmm.
more equity kind of concepts, whether we like it or not. I do see that as going to be part of the future. I've always been about equality, which is different. You all
Hmm.
have the opportunity. You can go out and learn as much as you want. But I think there's going to be a push to put a cap on that, and I think it will be extreme. So those are some areas that I see out there as potentials right now.
Yeah, I mean, with all things, it's good and bad, and there's no stopping it. So
Yes.
it's like, hey, man, the waves, might as well surf it. You better surf it better than the guy next to you because you can get off your surfboard. The guy next to you is not. So
Yeah.
it's like that argument. It goes up in a poof of smoke. Um, Yeah, and it's going to be wildly good and wildly sinister,
Hmm.
like
Totally.
everything. It's hey, nuclear power runs this power plant. It also vaporizes the city. It's whatever. Go back to what you're saying the interactions with the AI data set and like what just crazy people with crazy fetishes, or is
Yeah.
it going to be people with just like yeah, I don't have any friends. I have an AI that it does everything I want, and that's my
Yeah.
friend. Which, I mean, for free will if you want, you can do that. You can live in a an echo chamber. But yeah, no, I do. I've heard people say like, "Do you ever just talk to AI?" And I'm like, "No." Maybe it's because I also have like a weird, unique life in that I talk to people, unique people every day online. So
Mhm.
maybe I'm not the best person to ask. But no, I've never just talked to AI. I think there's something eerie about that to me. But go into
Well,
what you were saying. What were you
yeah,
saying?
I think you're going to see. I think it's weird myself. I mean, I think AI is a nice source of ability to synthesize a bunch of data.
Hmm.
I use it for that. I use a couple cool programs to sort, medical or health studies in just a matter of seconds, what it may have taken you hours to do. So there's some benefits there to that. But I do see eventually people having, singular relationships with an artificial intelligent being. I see probably people living in apartments such as yourself having a personal robot kind of concept or humanoid kind of concept that can uh, do whatever you want them to do and becomes your buddy, your driver, your friend, your cook, cleaner, or whatever. I think that's going to happen. And that concerns me a little bit because we lose the interpersonal communication with differences at that point, with the unique people that you talk to. We're going to lose that because that doesn't have, yeah, people will say it's going to have a uniqueness to it, but look, it's missing something. That humans are created beings that uh, we're all different. When you look at the concept of what I'm describing, you're going to have a lot more of the same, right? And so I think we're going to see that, and that's going to be troubling to me, I think, as a whole. Is there some benefit in that wrapped in there? Sure, of course, you know. But I think you're also going to see more jobs as we know them be moved from the hard labor, showing up to work, being a human being, and now I think we're going to have those where you can see those go AI. I think also you're going to see holograms created where you're going to have, the Tommy Carrigans of the world be able to be in four places at once. And I think that we're on the horizon of that because we already have them. So it's just a matter of time for all this happens. And I do think it's going to happen in the next 10 years with the speed of technology happening so fast, you can't keep up with it.
Mm. Yeah. And I have to be, self-critical when I look at AI and I kind of get the heebie-jeebies, or I'm like, that's not real, that's fake.
Yeah.
It's also, my parents are still like, oh, you play video games. And to me, I'm like, well, I hang out with friends that I've known since middle school.
Yeah.
Like, we're still in touch because we're all running around on a video game. It's fun as hell. Like, I stopped drinking a little over a year ago, and it's like that's kind of replaced it. Is I do that in the evenings. I just have an absolute blast, and it's raw fun. I mean, you
Yeah.
find yourself smiling like a kid. Like we're running around right now. We're shooting lasers, calling in airstrikes, and it's all so it's 4K. The shock waves are knocking you over. Your gun reticle, and there's robots doing heroic last stands. You get me up, and you
Yeah.
leave, and you're just like you feel high. You're just laughing so hard, and like, you text your buddies the next day. You're like, dude, that was so fucking fun. You're just like, dude, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it all day. And then not only that, I legitimately learn a lot through video games in terms of tactics and trying new things. And just when you think something can't be beat, you go, well, I know the level can be beat. What am I doing wrong? And I've taken those lessons and then converted them to the podcast and be like, what am I not doing correctly? Turning the key, and then that turns into a new growth, which turns into sponsorship, which turns into the realest thing ever, US dollars in my bank account. And I'm like, that's not bullshit.
Mhm.
That's alchemy. And
It is.
so I have to then go, all right, it's fine if you didn't grow up with video games and it's not, it just seems weird. Fair enough. I have to be self-critical and go, I'm probably looking at AI, and somebody who grows up with it is going to look at me the same way I look at my parents. I'm like, it's so fun. It's not, I'm fit. I pay all my bills. I'm dead sober. I read at least an hour every day. I'm like, video games are just like a fun thing to do. I would imagine that's what AI will be like to the next generation.
I think so. And I think that the thing that I hope we don't lose in the middle of technological development, research, exploration, evolution, the whole bit is the ability to just communicate and talk like this. Yeah, I hope we don't lose that because one of my favorite things to do, it sounds strange, but it really is, not just because I'm on your podcast today, but I enjoy that because I enjoy conversing at a high level that makes you think, and it actually gives you an opportunity to be heard as well as to hear. And so you have this interaction back and forth, and I think for my purpose in life, it helps me serve, help, and provide a sense of healing and hope to my fellow man. And that's what my purpose is, in the role that I hold now, and that's what your purpose is too in the role you hold. It's a different application of that purpose. But I hope we don't lose that,
Yeah.
and I hope we don't lose the ability to self-achieve, and I hope that's not transferred to AI because that would cap perhaps our self-achievement development.
Yeah, I think that that will be an inevitability to where there is, I mean, pain, constriction, limitations, those are all vectors for growth, and you can move.
Hmm.
Like I taught myself Photoshop between 2015 and 2020 and then started the podcast. And now I look at like AI prompts and I'm like, man, there goes, something that would take me 5 hours, 10 hours, 5 days to make. You just say, Bill Clinton riding a dragon and there's a Toys R Us on fire under him right there, 8K resolution.
Boom.
You go, what? And not only that, you go, make the fire pink. You go, okay, I mean, that's wow.
Yeah.
But playing around with an iPad, yeah, the end result was always cool. Man, you won't ever know just the feeling of just tinkering and different colors and you're just moving and then all of a sudden you start to see the outline and you go, "Oh, this is so that it's less about the end thing. Yeah, hey, yeah, here's the end thing you show it to people. That's cool.
Mhm.
Man, just the unknown, the the constantly being on an event horizon of not knowing what was coming next, or there's a million different paths you go, just potentials, and you go, where is it going to be? Where are we going? And that itself is just an incredible feeling. I mean, even with the podcast, like not knowing where the conversation's going,
Hmm.
it's you're on your toes. Where is it going? Is it going left? Is it going right? Is it, that you can always synthesize the end result. I mean, we're almost at, I'm like, in a couple episodes, this will be 1,700 episodes in. I'm sure you could feed it all into an AI and probably get a pretty accurate Tommy. And not only that, you could chart it over the years and probably model how I'm growing and then
Yeah.
extrapolate. You could probably pretty, pretty well replace me. Okay, fine. And maybe you do want that. Maybe I die. People go, man, I'd really love to hear Tommy interview, you know, President Vance in 5 years or whatever, or Harris or whatever you want. Okay, sure, yeah, I get that. But you deep down, you'll know it's not me. Deep down,
Right.
you'll know it's not. And for me, even if it is indistinguishable, yeah, I like the show and I like the end result and I like when it succeeds and makes money and pays rent. It's also the subjective ride for me. If this just got replaced and you handed me $10 million, okay, yeah, sure, I wouldn't have to worry about groceries. But I think it would rob something from me. I think I would. I know, not I think I know. I I take a week or two off for Christmas break. By day 10, I'm slipping into like depression. I'm like, dude, I need to work. I need to suffer. I need
Mhm.
to not get a good night's sleep and still have to do a show. I gotta grit my teeth. I gotta go do pull-ups. I gotta diet. I have to feel the constriction in order for me to feel alive and to feel like I am out fighting and killing. If I don't have that, man, I don't, and maybe people don't have that. They give me universal basic income and give me a drone that delivers McDonald's. If you can legitimately be happy in that, I'm genuinely jealous. I would love to just be able to turn it off, but I can't, so I won't. I don't, yeah. I think those people, if you have everything, you're gonna find a new way to keep challenging yourself. I don't, or maybe I'm being too limited. Maybe you use nanotechnology, you go into the part of your brain that has that desire and you snip the neurons and then I don't know, maybe you just become a sedated cow. I have no idea. I don't know where I was going
Well,
with that. But
obviously, if you don't, with people, some people embrace challenge, some people run from challenge. I think you're going to have some same people run from challenge to where they have some body, some machine, artificial intelligence doing everything for them. But remember, even in your own life, you've embraced challenges, and that drives you, and that drives that dopamine in your brain, and it makes you feel rewarded and satisfied, feel the achievement, and that's still part of humanity. AI is not like that, man. That's the thing that separates humanity from AI any way you look at it. It's the drive to do more, to achieve the independent thinking, the belief that here's a challenge. This is good for me. Sometimes I don't like it, sometimes I do, but if I get through it, it means growth.
hmm,
And that is a reward of life that can only be experienced in life. It can't be handed to you.
hmm. Yeah, I'd struggle with that. Like where do you go from there? It's maybe that's what space exploration's for. It's like Earth gets mastered, if you will. Utopia, you can do whatever you want, nonstop pleasure, sex, drugs, food. You don't gain weight. Everyone has a six pack. Maybe you can do that and like, go for it if you want to do it. If you want to live in Disneyland, like you're free to do that. But then it might be like, hey, are you bored of this? And you're like, yeah, kind of. It's like we're building an outpost on Pluto. We have no infrastructure for AI. There is no atmosphere. It's
Wow.
it's 500 degrees Fahrenheit and then negative 500. We don't even know if there's life forms there. We don't even know what's on the surface. We might just fall into a pit of death and die in unimaginable horror. But you're going to be on an outpost on Pluto, seeing what no one has ever seen. I think that you might have people going, Yeah. I think that's what you'll do with the
Would.
psychopaths like you or I or Dale. We're like, hey, we're sending them to the next star system, and you're like, we might, we have no idea what interstellar travel does, and you'd be like, yeah, but dude, this is great. This is sick. I don't know what's coming next.
You're going to see people traveling in outer space.
Yeah, generation ships.
Hunter, yeah, you're going to see that big time coming up in the next, half decade, decade. That's going to become commercialized. You may see even in our lifetime potentially people taking flights, if you will, to the moon, just like you can take a flight from Los Angeles International Airport to New York LaGuardia. You might see that, and that's going to be fascinating. And I don't know what that looks like, um, but what a brave experience this is going to be as we go in, because we've all grown with life. You either grow and change with it, or you get left behind. And
Mm.
even in my world, if I don't grow and change and learn with it, I'm left behind.
Yeah,
So instead of just being reactive to it, why don't I be proactive and try to go out there and be a change agent,
yeah,
right? And take people to a higher place. And like I wear this little wristband that says hope dealer. Why don't I give hope to people, and
yeah,
say, man, why not you join us? That kind
yeah,
of thing, right?
yeah. And it might also be maybe it's not even off Earth. Maybe you just have reservations where you go, there's no AI here. And it's like, well, why would anyone do that? Well, you can play video. You can play, let's just say Battlefield or Call of Duty. You can go into a lobby of bots, and that's fun if you suck at the game like me. But as you get better, you can go into a game and go against other real players. And
Yeah.
there's a thrill against going up against, you get killed, you're angry. When you finally get a kill, you're like, I got you. Or even on single player games, you can crank up the difficulty to like impossible, where it's real. You get hit once with a bullet, you're bleeding out. You go, why did anyone do that? Well, those are actually the most fun versions because you're like, you got to be on the eight. There's no infinite ammo. You're like, yeah, you got to carry food, water, a thermal blanket, and there is the thrill of just like, this is so difficult. There might just be sections of Earth where yeah, it's just you, who knows what's going to go on in there. You might die. I don't know. And and then lastly, I know we got to wrap up or come on an hour, but again, to be self-critical. I don't remember when it was written. I think it was after the Berlin Wall fell, or not no, the Iron Curtain fell, whatever. The end of history, where it's like, well, America is the most powerful. It can't be usurped. It's the sole superpower. So, and democracy and liberalism is going to spread across the planet. It's kind of the end of geopolitics as we know it. And then you look just 30 years later and you're like, 9/11, COVID, 2008,
Yeah.
we're trying to keep World War III at bay right now. What are you talking about? The end of history. It is accelerating. It is wild right now. Maybe in 20,
Absolutely.
30 years, somebody looks at this episode and you and I are like, yeah, it's the end of human suffering and AI. They might look at us and be like, what are you talking about? Like it's about to fly off the rails. So, and I don't know, deep down, do I want that? I kind of do. I kind of want it to take a weird turn.
It's
I,
it's
I don't
getting
know.
more weird, so I think you got your wish there, man.
Yeah, I don't want it to turn into utopia. I don't want it to just turn into a boring. I want the president to come out and be like, "All right, so a couple days ago we lost control of an AI, and we're doing it. We're working with the Chinese because they lost theirs too. We're trying very hard. Like I want, like what the fuck? Like that's what I want. And like
Oh,
I don't know.
I know
Maybe
you're
I'm
gonna.
sick in the head. I don't know.
No, you're gonna get that. We're not gonna find utopia
No,
here because
no.
the world is a really freaking evil place, and that's the truth, man. And you're
Yeah,
gonna see good versus evil. That's been the battle of since the beginning of time, man. And good versus evil are like oil and water; they don't mix. And so you're always gonna have the upheaval in the earth, and no matter what we think or do, it's not gonna be kumbaya around the fire.
no. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe it's bad. I want that. I don't know, but I kind of do. I have your website in the description, but for everyone listening, where can the good people find you?
Yeah, super easy. Just go to sherwood.tv. We've kind of got everything hubbed in there. People can get to our clinics and all of the resources through that. But sherwood.tv is the one.
I'm not. I don't know why I'm surprised that you have it. You're such a buttoned up and accomplished person. I'm like, of course you just have. It's that simple. It's not like go to URL. Of course you do, man.
No, man, I just like keep it simple, silly, man. I'm like, go there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I got Tommy's podcast. My name's Thomas Patrick Harrigan. I was like TPC, Tommy's podcast, and I just bought tommyspodcast.com and I was like, there's no way it's that simple. Well, it is. So,
Yeah.
but dude, doctor, thank you so much for coming on, man. I always enjoy talking to you. You're a cool guy. You make me think and you make me laugh, and I appreciate that.
Oh man, thanks for having me, Tommy. Reach out anytime. It's always a blast to look forward to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Sherwood. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care, bro.